You ever get to a point where you stop asking for fairness and start keeping receipts? That was me, standing in the middle of my own damn land, next to a brand new well I'd paid for myself, and still being told by a woman in a pearl necklace and HOA badge that I wasn't allowed to touch my own water. It started with a drought. Worst in 50 years. My crops were fading, my trees dropping leaves in early July, and every inch of me knew it was time to stop waiting on someone else and dig. I'd known the aquifer was good under my land. My granddad had mapped it out in the 60s. We had the rights, the paperwork, the history. So I filed my notice, rented a rig, and started drilling. 3 days in, Victoria Sterling rolled up like she was starring in a courtroom drama. Clipboard, printed HOA code, and that smack that says, "I married a lawyer." She tells me, plain as day, I'm violating HOA code 4B, no unapproved private wells. I asked her when that was passed. She said last quarter. I asked if it applied to land that predates the HOA by 40 years. She said, and I quote, "That's irrelevant now. This is about community." Community, huh? Let me back up a sec. My grandfather bought this patch of land in 52. 50 acres, plus the eastern edge of Crystal Lake. It wasn't fancy back then, just scrub and potential. But he saw value where others didn't. He taught me 2 things, fix what you break, and never let anyone steal quiet from a man's soil. I inherited it in 2001. Built my house, planted my own food, paid my dues when they forced me into the HOA 5 years later. Never complained, never missed a payment, not even when they raised fees 3 years in a row for things like community mulch and a beautification drone survey. Whatever. I stayed quiet. Until Margaret Wellington stepped in. Margaret's the kind of woman who always smiles like she knows more than you because she probably already bought it. She runs the Wellington Dairy Empire, 3,500 head of cattle and a whole PR team. And for 20 years, she'd been leasing water from the lake, my part of the lake, for pennies, based on a handshake deal my dad made when she had just a few hundred cows. I never updated it. I figured, hey, neighbors help neighbors, right? Big mistake. When the drought hit, I told her I was capping the lease. My section of the lake was down almost 5 feet, and my own property was bone dry. I figured she'd understand. Instead, she flipped. Said I was violating mutual trust. Accused me of trying to sabotage her business. Next thing I know, the HOA is suddenly drafting emergency rules about well digging, targeting exactly what I'd started. They even held a closed-door vote to fine me $2,500 for unauthorized excavation. That's when I realized this wasn't about rules. It was about control. So I did what any self-respecting man would do. I went digging. Not into the ground, into the archives. Found the original land rights from 1952. Riparian rights, mineral access, explicit carve-out that exempted the parcel from future zoning changes unless it was sold. I was still the owner. Nothing had changed. But that's not the part that really lit the fire. See, while digging through those documents, I also found water usage logs. Turns out Margaret hadn't just been using my water for her cows, she'd been reselling it. Her trucks had been hauling water off-site for years, supplying other properties during drought months. No contracts, no invoices to me. Just raw profit, stolen from my share of Crystal Lake. I wasn't just a neighbor. I was her unpaid supplier. So I brought it to the HOA meeting. Dropped a folder full of printouts, satellite images, timestamped logs, and a notarized statement from the previous water commissioner who knew the whole handshake deal. I laid it all out calm, deliberate, and without raising my voice. Victoria said, "This isn't the place to resolve personal disputes." I said, "It's the perfect place, since you tried to legislate my land behind my back." Margaret didn't even try to deny it. She just leaned in and said, "You've always been small time, Henry. This land deserves to be part of something bigger." And I swear, right then, I felt something in me shift. I stood up, looked around the room, and said, "As of this week, the water lease is terminated. No more access to my section of the lake. And for the record, my well's already running clean, deep, and fully permitted under state law." You could hear a pin drop. Over the next week, the fallout was nuclear. Margaret tried hauling from other parts of the lake. The state shut her down. Tried drilling her own well, hit solid bedrock. Tried bringing in outside water, too expensive. Her cows started dying. News outlets started asking questions. The state launched an inquiry. And me? I just kept my gate locked and my mouth shut. Then she called me. Not yelling, not threatening, begging. Said she'd pay 5 times what she was paying before. I told her I wasn't interested. Said the deal ended when she weaponized the HOA against me. She cried. Blamed the drought. Said her ranch hands were suffering. I told her I wasn't the one who sold stolen water while claiming neighborly values. Her lawyer sent me a cease and desist. I framed it and hung it in my garage. 2 days later, something strange happened. A young man knocked on my door, said he was one of Margaret's new ranch managers, just hired before everything blew up. He handed me a bag of groceries and said she wanted to apologize. I didn't open it. I just nodded, thanked him, and watched him walk away. Later that night, I found a note at the bottom of the bag. In Margaret's handwriting. Just 6 words, "You were right. I was wrong." I never responded. Not because I didn't want to, but because it wouldn't change anything. The cows are still gone. The ranch is being sold off. HOA's president stepped down for personal reasons. And now, every week, I get 2 or 3 calls from neighbors who used to avoid me, asking if they can buy some water for their gardens. I don't gouge. I don't gloat. I just fill the tanks and wave them off. This wasn't about revenge. It was about being heard. So now I ask you, what would you have done? Would you have opened the tap again when she begged? Or kept it closed to prove a point? Is respect something you give because someone asks, or something that gets earned after you've been banned? Let's talk about it in the comments. Because water runs deep, but so does memory. And some debts aren't paid with money.